And we are live now. No video. I mean, other than not our video, but we're live now. So just FYI.
Copy that. Hi, Amanda.
Hello. How are y'all?
And she's in a different room.
We are live, just so you know.
All right. Good. Well, I'm totally unprepared.
And
So
that's the way we want to do it.
Well, I mean, the video's not going out. It's just audio right now.
Oh, I love it.
Good deal. Yeah, I'm in my office, which was originally designed for this. But the internet was always too bad in here. But now I think it's showing that I have full signal. So
And across my fingers, we've been having issues all week with internet going weird. So I don't know what I'm going to get today.
you know, it's just one of those weeks. We're just doing the best we can.
That's what we always do. I mean, it's the internet. It's a public switch network. You never can tell what you're going to get. Thank you guys for doing the show today. I didn't want to undersell it, but since the show's on vacation, it was fine if you guys weren't feeling it today. But I didn't want to say that and make you think that I didn't want to record. Recording you guys is always very simple and entertaining.
Perfect.
Good. Yes, I live to be entertaining for others. And I succeed most of the time just because I'm like a train wreck. You can't take your eyes off of it. All right. Poor Wendy. She didn't know what she was getting into when she got stuck with me. Thanks for hanging in there with me.
Oh, right. I didn't get stuck with you, girl. Are you kidding? We're having fun together.
We were just mowing the grass, and you know how like when you have to do the first big yard cleanup of the season, and so it never just goes that easy. You have to clean out the gutters. It was like a whole thing. So hence the messy bun. And if there's grass in my hair, that just is what it is.
It's all part of
it. Yeah, I'm here.
Sounds good. I thought I would start this time, if you don't mind, and then we'll just jump right in.
Of course. Yeah, go for it.
Hey, Tony, let us know when you're ready. Amanda, let me know when you're ready. I'm ready whenever you guys are ready.
I'm ready.
I'm going to put the side-by-side up so everybody can get their cameras situated. As soon as I find it. Here we go.
Oh, wrong way. There we go.
I told the SEMA lady, Kara, the other day, I said, it's like plugging in a USB. It always takes 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Come down just a hair. There we go. Is that good, Tony?
Yeah, looks good to me.
Even? Okay.
Everybody ready?
Ready to go.
Okay, we've started recording, but you guys can start anytime you like.
Well, howdy, and it's Wendy, and I'll be one of your co-hosts on this episode of Chic Chat. Chic Chat's the place where we celebrate the perfect fusion of style and adventure. Jeeps have long been synonymous with ruggedness, freedom, and the spirit of adventure. And who says women can't embrace all of that and more? All right, Amanda, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Amanda, the co-host here with Wendy on the A-Team. Happy to be back with her, hanging out and talking about all the fun Jeep stuff.
I know. And speaking of that, I'm just so excited to dive into your experience at EJS. So for those of you that don't know what EJS is, that's Easter Jeep Safari. Happens every year in Moab, Utah around Easter. And it's quite the event, especially if you're a Jeep enthusiast. So Amanda, I know this was your first time of going, right?
Yes, not my first time in Moab, but first time for EJS.
Okay, so did you drive or fly there?
Drove and hauled 2 Jeeps. 16 hours, I think is the drive.
I was going to ask you how long it took you to get there. So you're coming from where going to Moab, Utah?
So I'm coming from Greenville, which is just east of Dallas. And so we drove through and stayed. We didn't get to leave until like 1 p.m., 2 p.m. on our first day.
Oh,
so we
no.
drove, yeah. Well, because Micah got off work and drove straight in from Austin to Dallas.
Okay.
We loaded up the Jeeps on the trailer and we drove to Tucumcari, New Mexico, spent the night, and then drove the rest of the 10 hours the next day.
That is a true road warrior right there. I mean, I was going to say, was your first 10 hours just getting out of Texas, but you already alluded to getting there. So, because we all know it's bigger in Texas and takes a week to get through Texas, right?
It's an equal amount of time to drive through Texas than as it is to go the rest of the way. So,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now, was this your first time driving? I think I saw you post something about you actually drove that big trailer with 2 Jeeps on it.
Yeah, so this was my first time pulling that setup, with there's 32 foot with the 2 Jeeps on it. So, yes.
Yeah,
I've been towed before, but
I know.
I'm sorry, Wendy, go ahead.
Well, it's tough when you're in a different rig or you're not sure about your length. I always talk about this when we're teaching people how to drive Jeeps, is that you understand your length and width of your vehicle. So for those of you listening or wondering, it's like driving a big, huge Greyhound bus in turning corners. You have to drive wide. You have to think about your turning radius. I mean, I've definitely hauled my fair share of trailers and or horse trailers a lot. And it is kind of exciting when you think about what you can do. But anyway, I'm glad it was successful for you. And I'm glad you posted it was your first time and sharing that because, everybody has to have a first time, right?
Yeah. So it definitely, exactly what you said about the length. I mean, it's an experience because I've towed trailers before. I've towed with trucks, I've towed with my Jeep, but that was, just changing lanes. You don't even think about how long it is until you're doing it.
Until you're trying to change a lane, you realize, why is that guy getting out in my blind spot? Get out of my spot, dude. Look at my blinkers. They're on. Oh my gosh. All right. So you guys finally get there. What are just some of the highlights? Well, let's break it down some of our listeners. So when you guys first got there, what did you do first? Like, what was your first day's plan?
Okay, so this is something that you need to think about that I just want to bring up because a lot of people might not think about it. When you go to an event like that and you are trailering, a lot of times your Airbnb or your hotel may not have a spot for truck and trailer parking. So the first thing that we did was go to the storage that we had rented beforehand, especially at EJS or Trail Hero or something. Think about that because you need to do it early. We went to the storage beforehand and dropped both Jeeps and truck and trailer. So, that takes a minute.
Yeah.
So our first day was just like a half day type situation. And so it was just getting set up, getting everything, the truck and trailer dropped and secured for the week, getting to the Airbnb, because of course there was crazy traffic because it's EJS and
it's Moab. Yeah, and
right.
for those,
but even then,
go ahead. And I was going to say, for those who haven't been to EJS or to Moab, it's kind of one street through the town. It's not like this is a major city that has, I know there's some side streets and ways to get around Moab, but for the most part, it's, 4 lanes, 2-2, right? It's pretty, and it's busy.
And all the stuff that you need to go to, like the grocery store, the gas station, restaurants, all that's on that one street that you're talking about. But it was even just that driving through town the first day was so cool because you're seeing all the people that you've seen on Instagram and YouTube and all that. You're like, oh man, that's so-and-so and that's so-and-so, and I've seen that Jeep. So that's just it's almost kind of like you're at a parade because you're just watching all the other Jeeps. So that part's really cool.
Yeah, because it's pretty much the Jeeps take over, I think, in that town. I've never been myself, so that's why we're letting our listeners know what it was about. But that is pretty cool. So once you got kind of settled, so the next day, is there sort of like a starting point for EJS? Do you go through like a gate and then you get into an event? Tell us a little bit about that.
So the way it works is you can do like the guided rides. So that's where like the Red Rock 4x4 club does the guided trails. And so you sign up for those before the event. So you go onto their website, and you can do that by Googling EJS and or Easter Jeep Safari. and you sign up for the guided rides. So if you're going to do those, then you kind of have an itinerary. On this day, I'm going to run this trail, and I have to meet at this place at this time. So if you're doing the guided trails, that's, makes the trip kind of super convenient because you know exactly what to expect and when to expect it. If you're not doing the guided trails and you're just, hitting the trails with your buddies, then you kind of have to take that schedule of the guided trails and know what they're running and where and what trails are going to be shut down for those guided events, and plan around their schedule. So on our first day, our friend Mark that was up there, Zabo, he's a fan of the show. Hopefully he's watching. Hi, Mark. He actually had picked out a trail for us to run that first day that he knew wasn't being used. And we went out, and I believe it was called Wipeout Hill. And so it was kind of just a moderate trail. I know that sounds bad, right? But it was a moderate trail, and I think it's a new badge trail. I'm not sure. Not super good about following the badges, but he picked it out, and it was absolutely beautiful. And then it had this great obstacle at the end, like Wipeout Hill. And so you could pick all the different lines,
Wow.
the hard line and the easier line, or kind of make it your own. So we went up it, down it, up the harder line, back down that again, and all around, because we were feeling good at that point after we'd warmed up on that trail. And then so on our way out of Wipeout Hill, we actually met like the Jeep concept vehicles were out with people driving them on the trail for like an event. So it was super cool because we got to see the Jeep concept vehicles on a Jeep Badge of Honor trail. So that was cool in the first day.
I don't know if you got to see them all. Did you have one that stood out that you really liked?
I liked the two. Yeah, so I had two favorites because, of course, we saw them on the trail, but then we had to go back to the display in town like a couple of days later and really get out and look at them. So I liked the two-door Gladiator, and I liked the little 80s retro two-door
Wrangler. Are you talking about Hondo?
I don't know if it's Hondo or not. I think Hondo was bigger.
Okay.
I'd have to. But it was blue, or it was white with like some blue pinstriping, the little two-door one.
Yeah.
And then the two-door Wrangler was like the purple and the wild graphics. It was really cool.
It's cool. Yeah, I think that's really fun about EJS is that you not only get to see everybody that you've seen on TikTok or followed on Instagram or Facebook, but now you get to see those concept vehicles. And they were pretty impressive this time. I saw the lineup. They always post it after the fact. And I was like, I'm not sure which one I could narrow it down to my favorite. There was some things I liked about some and didn't like about some others. And, it was hard to do that. So that's pretty cool to see him in person, though. You had to be excited about that.
Yeah, it was. It was really cool to see him in person. It was cool to see that Jeep actually has a big display set up in Moab, like on that main strip that you're talking about, where you can get out and go like be hands-on and check out the vehicles. And then I think you could even register for prizes and stuff. It was always pretty busy when we went, so we didn't register for anything, but I think you could do some giveaways or stuff. It was neat. It was really neat to see.
Very cool. So now that you kind of got yourself in there, were you able to pick some trails yourself, or did you ride with other people that were leading and join their groups?
So we just kind of had a group of friends that had come out from different areas or whatever that we knew. And so we all just kind of bounced around and hung out together and wheeled different trails. And we didn't do the guided trails. I know you lost internet for a second, but I kept on with my spiel.
Yeah,
but
good.
So we didn't do we didn't do the paid guided trails because we had kind of a big group that we wanted to get together with, and some other people that we wanted to meet from out of town. So we just took that plan or the schedule of the guided trails to figure out which ones were not being used for that day and went out that way, made some plans based on that. In the first few days, the weather was beautiful.
Ooh.
So we got to take, some advantage of some really good long days on the trail on some pretty trails.
And I think you got to meet some of the JTS team members, right? People that either listen and or are part of the team.
I did at the Moab Diner. Imagine that. That's where
I know. That's what I saw the pictures. Diner. The pictures posted. I'm like, gosh, I want to be there. I want to be there with you guys.
Yeah, so we did at the Moab Diner, and it looks like they were wheeling some cool trails. And of course, Janet and I wheeled together, so that was awesome.
Yep.
I got to meet Natalie in person. That was awesome.
I
So
know. That's the fun part
yeah.
of getting to meet everybody. It's kind of neat to do that. So what other trails did you, well, let's do it this way. Did you wheel any difficult trails?
So we did. I mean, we did some challenging stuff. We did the trifecta. I know you're not supposed to call it that for some reason. So the poison spider, golden spike, and gold bar rim. So that's a long day of trails. Um, so we did that, and we started out with a bigger group, but then kind of halfway through the day, some people didn't want to do the whole thing, and it ended up being just me, Micah, and my friend Reggie, obsessed Jeep girl. She works for Crash Fab. We did the whole thing. And so we did every hard option line, every obstacle that we could. And we did some, we pushed ourselves there for sure. So we got to do that. We took our friend Chrissy with Apex at Metal Masher, and that was good. But I will say we wanted to do Pritchett Canyon, but the weather went to crap, and the group that was supposed to do it kind of fell apart. And so we didn't get to do that on Friday. So I'm sad. So we have to go back just to do Pritchett.
Would you say those trails that you did, your Jeep was set up for that, and you felt comfortable doing it, or do you wish you would have had a bigger lift or something different, or were you completely set up for that?
My Jeep, chef's kiss. It was so good. I say that now, and the tire's probably gonna fall off in the driveway. When I
no, knock on wood. That's what you do. Knock on wood.
But no, it did everything I needed it to do.
Good.
But we've spent many years and lots of shop time and garage time, and tweaking it to do this and that, for it to do the way it does. So I was super happy.
I know when I've talked to people, and I know many different people have gone, their Jeep is set up in all different ways. You can be maxed out, on 40s and, 60s and all kinds of things, or you can just be in a stock Jeep and you can still experience Moab, do a lot of the trails. You do not have to be all maxed out. So I think that's one of the things that a lot of people that are new into Jeeping are thinking, well, I can't go to EJS because I don't have the right setup. Well,
no,
there are a lot of trails. Am I not correct? Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a ton. And that's part of the cool thing about if you're new or you have, you're not super experienced and you want to get out there, an event like EJS, you can pick guided trails based on certain levels. And they tell you, this is what your rig, needs to be. It needs to have 35s. It needs to have a locker. It needs to have whatever. And you can book those rides based on your equipment and have somebody guide you and spot you the whole day.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of like going on a regular trail ride in your own hometown. When you maybe get on Facebook, we've talked about this in the past, you find somebody to ride with, they're going to tell you what the expectations are. Just on average, do you know what they're charging to do that? Is it a nominal fee? Is it expensive? What do you think the ranges were?
It was maybe $75, but this was when I looked right before at the end for a trail, but it could have been less. It was somewhere between 50 and 75. I know, like at Trail Hero, I've done the guided runs and it was about 50 if you do the early registration.
Yeah. And I think that's good because that money all goes back into preserving the trails. You also are being, I would imagine, especially at EJS, you're guided by somebody who has knowledge and experience. They're going to have all the gear on board if something happens, and they're going to be leading the run based on what level they feel they're running. So an easy trail is an easy trail, medium, and more difficult. So I think that's great. I didn't realize that they offered guided trails for people. So if you are brand new or going by yourself, you don't have to feel like you need to connect with somebody to go. You can actually enjoy the whole scenery and be able to have that experience. I think that's amazing.
Yeah. And you can make it your own. I mean, you can pick the trails and, so you already have an itinerary to go. You don't have, it takes a lot of the planning out of it for you. So that's super cool.
Yeah, I think that's one of the neatest things if you are going to go to a big event like that is that you can do it. Now, there's probably a website people can go to for next year, xjtalk.com would be my guess, to sign up for some of these things ahead of time. Or is everything done there on site when you get there? Do you know?
No, you definitely register ahead of time. And I believe it's the Red Rock 4x4 is the club that puts it on. So if you just
Hmm. We might have lost Amanda. I'm not sure if we have or not. I love technology.
Yeah, we'll just wait for her to reconnect.
Okay.
When you dropped earlier, was it just a bandwidth issue, or just stopped working, or?
Yeah, I kind of frozen, and I thought it was her dropping, so I just reconnected really quick. And then she was still talking, and I was like, "Oh,
Yeah, there she is.
there you are."
I could see y'all the whole time. Y'all just couldn't see me. So I don't know.
Oh my goodness. So tell me one of the things that I understand the scenery is stunning. Was there a trail in particular that you were on that you would recommend anybody going for the first time or second time or third time has to see this because the scenery was just stunning?
Oh my gosh, all of them. No, I'm just kidding.
I had a feeling you were going to say that. Like, she's not going to be able to pick one. There's no way. But I mean, honestly, maybe there's a trail for the newbie who's brand new, maybe a basic stock Jeep, and then maybe that more advanced trail. Do you have, and can you narrow it down?
So I think somebody for a more stock Jeep, just to kind of get like the Moab slick rock stuff. I think Fins and Things is a cool one because it's really close in town. And you kind of get that like slick rock going over, the fins and things, which is a lot of fun. And Hell's Revenge, which is more challenging, is in the same area. So maybe if you want a little bit more of a challenge, that's a cool one. And you don't have to drive very far out of town. I love Poison Spider, Gold Spike, and Gold Bar Rim. They're some of my favorites. Metal Masher for a view is super cool. Moab Rim for the view is super cool. Top of the World for the view is super cool because you have the lookout over town and you get to see it. So
that would be cool.
Fun places to have lunch with a beautiful space. So there's, none of the trails are not pretty. You know what I mean? Like,
you're right. No,
beautiful
it's
places.
gorgeous. The whole area is beautiful if you've ever been. So tell me now about sort of I don't know if it's called a village. Where are all the vendors set up? Where would you go once you're in Moab? You've done some trails. Where do you get to go to see all the vendors?
So the vendor show is only, I think it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And so that's set up at I think it's the old Spanish arena. So it's like a little, civic center arena area. And they have all of the vendors set up there. But throughout the week, they do have events at different places in town, like different restaurants. They had one at the Ford dealership of all places that are like after parties or whatever that are sponsored by different vendors, like Revolution Gear and Axle or Moto Built or something. They had different parties and things like that that you could see. They would post about on their Facebook before the event. So you could, go and just kind of meet some cool people and meet other Jeepers and some of your favorite vendors, which was cool.
So it sounds like, it sounds like you can, it's an all day thing and an all night thing. Like, not just go sit in your hotel and then think about things. You actually have a whole day's event to do something, correct? I mean, you've got your run all day long and then you can go to the vendors and then you can go do something in the evening.
Yeah, absolutely. And Moab is such a pretty town, and it's a touristy town with lots of good restaurants and shops, and it's all, on the little downtown square where you can park and walk and just enjoy the outdoors and the beautiful weather, if it is beautiful weather. So it's a really cool environment. Definitely, something to keep you busy.
Mm-hmm. And you said weather. So what did it go from beautiful day, like 60, 70 degrees, and then it went to what? Did you get snow or rain?
Yes. Yes, all, both. So at the end of the week, Thursday, we were on the Pickle Trail, which was my favorite trail that we did this trip. So we were on the Pickle Trail with a group of friends, and like the cold front started coming in, and the pickle is like in a little canyon, and there's lots of sand down there, and the wind was just whipping through, and it was cold, and the sand was blowing in our face when we were trying to go up the obstacles. So it started with like the mist and the cold wind and all of that, and then Friday it rained a ton Thursday night and was cold, and then Friday when we were on the trail, it was like sleet snowing. It looked like Dippin' Dots falling from the sky.
Wow. Yeah. Well, it's fun 'cause it's this time of the year.
But it was
you get snow.
beautiful.
Yeah. It's like we call it popcorn snow because it's little tiny round balls, of snow. So interesting. What was your favorite place to eat?
My favorite place to eat. Oh gosh, what was the name of that place? Zach's, I think it is. It was right there on the main strip, and Motobilt actually did a event there. But if you go there, get the truffle fries. You're welcome. They're phenomenal.
That would be dangerous. Be there every single day getting truffle fries. So, oh my God. All right.
We
So
went like
favorites?
3 times.
Yeah, I would think so. I'd be back every day, I think, truffle fries. Tell me your favorite memory or something that stands out that you will always cherish with you. What was the favorite thing that happened or you saw or you did?
Man, my favorite memory was just getting to see all of my friends, all of friends that I had never met in person. So like Natalie or Shanna, who was a guest on the show from Colt Builds It. I got to meet her in person and have dinner with her and Colt. That was amazing. Reggie, who's, my great friend who we live here locally, but we got to, spend days on these epic trail adventures together. But it was just meeting people in person that I've just interacted with, on the internet and getting to spend quality time with them and, give them a hug and see them for the first time. So that's my favorite memories for sure. What?
You sure?
Mm-hmm. But either I got kicked out or Wendy got kicked out.
Oh, man.
Was it me or you that got lost?
It was me. I'm back.
I was talking. Micah came in. He was like, "You stopped talking." I was like, "Well, either me or Wendy got kicked out. I don't know who it was."
I don't get it. Is it like from California to Texas? You would think our connections would be good, but here we are. So, all right. So I know
No,
you
but
probably
I kept yapping again. So
yeah, I bet you explained your favorite place to eat, and I didn't get to know it anyway. And your favorite memory, you probably shared that because what the last thing I asked. So, so let me just ask you this: would you do it again?
oh yes, absolutely. Yeah,
So
it's just the atmosphere. It is something different, just because there's so many like-minded people.
to see too, like how do you get around to everybody? You still want to do all the trails. You got to hang out with your friends, and then there's people that you've met or you're trying to meet, and then you want to see them. You want to meet them and say, "I see you. I follow you. I'm on Instagram, on TikTok. I see you and I follow you." I think that would be the coolest thing for me is to see like Greg Henderson's builds and some of the things that people are doing. And I would have visited Rock. So it's just interesting to me. There's so much to see and do when you're there. All right. Let's see. Time. I don't know. And you're back.
It was me this time. I thought it was you because it said Wendy's not visible, so I thought it was you again. But this time it was me.
Oh my goodness. So I was just saying there's so many people to see and go and follow and say, I follow you on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and all those different things. Plus you get to see all these trails. So what would be your suggestion for somebody brand new going that you would, I know you gave a hint already about if you're going to haul your rig, you need to book that space, storage space. So what else would be a tip for them that would be a good benefit besides different changes of clothes? Because of the weather, which I always recommend when you go wheeling anyway, that you should have layers. So what would be your one tip or two that you would say to somebody brand new, what they need to do?
Start planning early, especially if you're going to do guided trails so you can do the ones you want. If you're going with friends, make those plans early so you can get like an Airbnb situation or whatever you want that's, that fits the needs of your group. And pack for all 4 seasons because you're going to need it.
Yeah. I always say that on trails, and well, especially here in Big Bear in Southern California. Today, for crying out loud, we're done with the winter, but here we are. But if you were wheeling, you want to have gloves and you want to have a layer and you want to have extra. Very cool.
Oh, yeah. And I was super thankful for the fact that I carried ponchos in my Jeep because it rained a lot. And that was not in the forecast.
And that, those are easy because they're small little square plastic things. That's a great piece to put on board. And then you become a trail hero because the people you're wheeling with who didn't plan, you're like, here's a piece of plastic, put it on. It'll save you. So
exactly.
Cool. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm so excited. I am really looking forward to next year. You said planning early should help.
Mm-hmm.
To meet you personally, not just on the phone with our broken internet back and forth.
Wouldn't that be nice? It would be so weird for us to talk without a lag.
I can't even imagine what that would be like. Oh my gosh. I feel like one of us is in outer space and the other one's on the planet. It's like, what's happening? I can't hear you. Anyway, I appreciate you sharing your EGS story. Is there anything else that you want the listeners to know about your experience and your trip that you went on?
Just, it was a fantastic time. And I think if you really, are a Jeep enthusiast and you love it, even if you're new, even if none of your friends are going, don't be scared because you really can do it. It is really friendly for any Jeeper, stock Jeeper, experienced Jeeper, whatever the trip is that you want to have, you can make it that because there are just so many possibilities and things to do while you're there.
That is really, really cool. Well, I think that's it for this episode of Chic Chat. We hope you've been inspired by the stories and insights and tips shared today by Amanda and EJS. You guys, we got to go. Remember, there are no limits to what you can achieve when you embrace your passion and fearlessly chase your dreams, which is what Amanda did, checking out all those different trails. And if you'd enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to the Jeep Talk Show so you'll never miss an episode. Remember to embrace the thrill of the off-road, embody your own unique style, and always keep pushing the boundaries of what you thought possible because, hey, anything is possible. Right, Amanda?
Absolutely.
All right, we're clear.
Man, that was not as bad as our other one we did. What is it with the ATM? I think we need to switch dates or something. What is going on?
Right. Start doing this on Tuesdays or something.
Something, huh?
It was crazy. So wild because I couldn't tell if it was you or me. And then at some points it kept saying director not available. So I was like, did it boot Tony out? Like, what's happening?
I know.
Well, yeah, that just means that you're no longer in connection with me.
Oh, okay. Now I know. So that means it's me then if I see that.
I believe so. I think that would make sense.
Okay.
It was just weird because you would go frozen, but I could still hear you talking. And then, or I'd go frozen, but I could still hear you talking. And then when you disappear, I was like, do I need to reboot or not? So
I think they prioritized the audio over the video because the audio you can kind of not do without when you're communicating. So I
Yeah.
think that's what happens when the bandwidth gets low. They prioritize the audio.
That
That's
kind of makes sense.
wow, because I could see all the whole